Hello there, welcome to your man in the shed in the car, as most of these videos are nowadays. There we go. Could it be a change to man in a car? No, I think we're sticking with man in the shed. Anyway, that's enough nonsense for a minute, possibly, who knows. So, from next Monday then, we are lifting all lockdown restrictions in England. How are we feeling about this, people? So I'm going to give you what I think, and you can go from there. So anyone who knows me knows generally I vote Conservative, and that's generally because I feel that they have the better policies out of the major parties. I'm not going to get into that too much, but for me, I have to say that it's tricky not to be agreeing with the opposition on many things, and I've got a few which I'm going to go through today. One is on COVID, and one is not so much necessarily on the opposition party view, but one of their mayors was on the radio last night, and I have to say that I completely agree with him, because it's something to do with online platforms. We'll get into that, if I remember, in a few moments. So as I was saying, so we're about to lift the COVID restrictions in the UK. The traffic lights, I can have a look at the camera for a little bit. So what does that mean? That means that we no longer have to keep the 2-meter rule. The rule of 6 indoors goes, so you can now do whatever you like there. Funerals can have as many people as, I suppose, depends on how popular the person was. And weddings, you can have whatever number you want, and you can all get together and that. And then you look at things like Wembley Stadium. On Sunday, there must have been 100,000 people at Wembley around the stadium and getting drunk, so drunk. It was like a war zone. It was said to be horrific and not what the fans wanted. So, how that wouldn't have spread COVID. If one of those people had it, then there's going to be tens or hundreds now who potentially have it. And I know most of the people who would have gone to Wembley possibly would have had at least one vaccination, which would reduce the risk, and lots of them may have been double vaccinated, which is obviously good. And I get that a lot of the country now are double vaccinated, so the risk of COVID is a problem. It isn't so much a problem, but we're in the grips of a third wave, and it's not going to kill people as much as the first and second wave. I totally get that, because of our brilliant scientists who have made it so that we no longer are going to be dying from this god-awful disease. Hopefully not so many now. And also, going with the government, I do agree that if not now, then when? Yeah, I get that. But the problem is we do have a Delta variant which is spreading. It's not just spreading here, it's also, I saw something yesterday about United States, and United States, famously, you have to pay for your medical care there, as opposed to here where we have our amazing NHS, which are underfunded and overworked, especially at these times. You look at somewhere like Heathrow Airport, for example, yesterday over 100 security guards were told to self-isolate. I guess they're the ones really on the front line, because they may have come in contact with someone with COVID, which basically meant Terminal 6 had very little security, so the queues were substantial, and that's going to be an absolute nightmare for all people trying to get home. because you're given a time slot, but obviously if the staff aren't there to be able to assist you, it will take longer, which will be an absolute nightmare, especially if you've got families and that. I guess the airports aren't being used as much at the moment because there certainly aren't as many planes, but they are starting to come back. There are more flights now than there were certainly this time last year when there was barely a plane flying, which was great for the environment, but that's a story for another day. But you know, the track and trace has been an absolute joke, disaster. Most people who have been caught up on it, less than 5% would have caught it, and yet you're going to self-isolate. So I do believe there is something where if you now have a double jab, you won't necessarily have to self-isolate, but you will need to get checked as and when you to check that you have or haven't got COVID. That came out well, didn't it? So there is that. But for me, yeah, to actually completely lift all measures, so you can now go to nightclubs, and it's great for nightclubs and that, because you know these people who own them have lost lots of money. I used to work at a Concord club, and I know that they will have been severely damaged and threatened by there being no possibility of having a proper audience in for any of that event. And I'm hoping that they can get back to some sort of normality and have some sort of crowd in where they can actually start to enjoy themselves. Thanks for letting me out, mate. That was most appreciated. And then hopefully we can have a Christmas where we can get back to normal. But I can't see it. Personally, I think lifting restrictions completely, people will just go, oh, it's gone then. So we'll just go back to how it was, and it will be an absolute nightmare. I think lots more people will start dying soon. I'll give it 5 weeks, and then the government will have to do something again. By November, there will be a lockdown. That, you heard it here first. That's my claim. It is absolutely stupid and dangerous what is now being done with this new variant. I fear that people are going to die, and you can't blame anyone now but the government. And like I say, I understand, if not now in the summer holidays, then when, but it's such a risk. But you know, and I do agree, we do have to live with COVID. Anyway, so I am more backing the Labour side than the Conservative side, and yeah, that is genuine. You know, I can't support the government in this because I feel that they are putting our lives at risk, and I'm not going to support that. I always said if whatever side I support, if they do stuff which I disagree with, and I don't agree with a lot of policies and a lot of things that the government does, you know, the rich boys, but you need the rich boys to give jobs to common folk. So that's kind of why I support them, as opposed to us all being socially the same. I don't agree with socialism on the whole, but I would say I'm a social conservative, but quite liberal. I'm certainly quite central. I'm certainly not right wing. I certainly don't hate every foreigner. In fact, I'd rather get rid of most of the British and replace them with people from abroad who actually want to work. They coming over here taking our jobs, more like doing the jobs you don't want to do, you lazy fuckers. But yeah, absolutely, I would rather have, I don't know, if we could get rid of a few million of our laziest, useless people who don't want to get a job. Not so much that they can't get a job, it's more, if I get a job I'll have to get up in the morning and do some work, and that's not nice. Yeah, we don't want you. We'd rather have a few few 100,000 foreign people coming over and getting those jobs that you don't want to do, rather than having you. That is my personal opinion, but I know it won't be shared. So yeah, I'd rather have that. But anyway, we're going to go on to a different subject, because I think we've covered COVID now. 10 minutes on COVID, that'll be more than long enough. So I was listening to the Monday Night Club last night, and sadly it wasn't talking about football much. Didn't listen to all of that. I listened to about the first half hour on my way home. I was going through Twyford and came into Fair Oak and was going to Allington Lane. It's a different story now, by the way. This is just my route. Anyway, they've got a new roundabout at Allington Lane, and then just past it you have Fir Tree Lane. There was so much flooding. I've never seen this road flooded like it, that I chose to not follow the road in the end. I decided to go, because the problem is, sorry, I know I'm like halfway through a sentence and I've changed the sentence, but there you go. The problem is, if you're following someone in a flood, that's so bloody nervous. You can't see anything under the water, so there could be a drain cover removed, anything, because that's what happens. It brings around. You can't run. They might be really nervous and they might just stop, and that is going to absolutely screw your car. Because if your exhaust pipe, your tip for you going through a flood now, your exhaust pipe is under the water and you take your foot off the accelerator, going from blowing out the air, it's then going to suck in air. That's how exhaust pipes basically work, and then it's going to just flood your engine and you ain't going nowhere and you're totally fucked. So my suggestion is, if it is deep flooding or even shallow flooding, really, I wouldn't go through it. So I changed directions and went back a different way. Anyway, that's changing story. Anyway, back to the Monday Night Club. So I was listening to the radio and I had the Monday Night Club on, and I would imagine they were planning on celebrating a great tournament and how well England had done. Win or loss, that didn't matter, because it had been a great tournament. The two best teams, from my view, were in the final. Italy are the best team in the world. They showed that in the final. Argentina also won the Copa America, so they proved that they are also a great team and deserve to be where they are. Anyway, they had Andy Burnham on there, and he was talking about the horrendous, disgusting and vile racist abuse, and also the hooliganism, which was unfortunately stained our great nation once again. Why go out and get so drunk? And I have to agree with some of the others. They knew that this could happen, so why have the game on 8 o'clock? Because that's the time it was supposed to be on. But what the hell are these pubs doing? And I know that due to COVID, pubs haven't been making money, but it is an offence to allow someone to get drunk in your establishment. You can't just keep serving them there. You really can't. And I know they can sneak stuff in. These people were getting drunk way too early as well, starting at probably before midday, so drunk for the final, so aggressive. When we scored, it was magic, at home, and Wembley sounded great inside, and then you find out that all this had happened outside, and it's awful. It's one thing to enjoy yourself, but don't be a dick. Anyway, back to the conversation about what Andy Burnham was saying. So what he was saying was, and you have to agree with him in many ways with this, is to start up a site, and they can still do this, because they can make it so that you can't use your Facebook, Twitters, Instagram, whatever, WhatsApp and all this, without giving proper details of who the hell you are. Because if you have to give your name, well, you do have to have a name on it, but you have to give your address and your age, but you have have to give your age, I think, but you don't have to give your address. If you have to give your address, then it will cut down the racist abuse, because if they were to say, look at mine, and I'm going to use one of my friends, I'm going to use Ariel. I don't know if you know about Ariel, but he has his own website. So imagine I was to say, oh, Ariel, you're a useless Chinese whatnot. Now, the first thing there is, Ariel isn't Chinese. Okay, he is from the Philippines, and he's not useless. He is an absolute sound bloke, but I'm just using this as a demonstration. So if I was to say, Ariel, you're an absolutely useless Chinese whatever, why don't you go back to your own bloody country and stop taking our jobs? Now, already earlier on I said I'd rather have these foreign people come over and have jobs and get rid of the bloody English, and especially the hooligans and the racist bastards. So everything I just said then was meant as a show. I didn't mean any of it. Ariel, you're my man. Love you, man. You're the best. I love your YouTube channels, and I love your football reviews. They were brilliant and hilarious. Keep going with the boxing, man. You're a superstar. Anyway, that's Ariel. Apologise for something which I didn't mean what I was saying, because it was meant as whatever, and I think you understand what I'm sort of trying to say there. Anyway, so if I was to do that, which I won't, because I don't do that sort of thing, but if I was, the Hampshire police can have it and say, oh, so-and-so said this, did he? And then they can come down to me and they can either do whatever. They can arrest me or give me a telling off. And then hopefully I won't do it again. I won't then go on there and go, oi, you blinking whatnot. What the blinking hell are you doing this? But the other problem, obviously, with Facebook, Twitter, and all of these other things, there are many good things that they enable. So, for example, with like YouTube and with Google and all these as well, we can have YouTube channels. So, like this one now, and you can have some random person, like this bleeding idiot now, talking to you about whatever subject. To be fair, I want to, as long as I'm not being rude and offensive and vile. Hopefully we'll get a couple of people watching it. It's unlikely, but this video may get a few views, so a few people might just skip through it and others might actually watch it. That's not really very likely, and certainly 18 minutes in, it's not gonna get too many views this late in, I imagine. But by actually having people's addresses, then it will make online abuse and aggression and that, it might just cut it down. It might not, but at least then you know who the hell it is. So for that, I am 100% agreeing with Andy Burnham. And there you go, Mr. Chris Hunt, you of the socialism. I'm not too dissimilar to you. I don't have too many different views. I do have different opinions on what you think, and that's a good thing, because we don't want the world full of clones or clowns or both. But anyway, there you go. I'm nearly at work now. Doesn't take long, does it? 19 minutes, and I've nearly made it. There used to be a time when I would be getting here at almost 9 o'clock, and it's not even 8:30 yet. So things have changed. People aren't all going to go back to work next week. There will still be people working from home, because why wouldn't you? Imagine you work in London and you've been working at home now for the last 18 months or so. Your life's got to be a lot better, and 2 hours on the train to get there, 2 hours to get back. The stress, the smelly people you've got to sit next to would be absolutely disgusting as well. And that's another thing. Okay, how do these people make their house smell so bloody bad? at times and not realise that that house stinks. It's like, it's a weird smell as well. I don't know what this is going to do with anything, but you know, as a driver, as a delivery driver, once a week, and I did it for a while, you do come across some strange smells and some dirty houses. You think, you just clean up a bit. You get off your humongously fat ass and actually do something. That's the sort of people I would like to swap out and bring in more Ariels. More Ariels, the better, because he's a bloody good worker and he's a bloody good friend. And Ariel, we need to meet up again, my friend. I missed you, buddy. And yeah, we need to get back to doing whatever. And it'd just be nice to stop and have a coffee or a beer one time, and that'll be nice. But anyway, how dare there be a van coming out of there? I need to go and turn around and another van coming the other way. That's fun. How dare they? Anyway, there's your traffic warden. Yeah, I'm gonna go this way. Okay, who cares? You alright, buddy? Yeah, his words, isn't it? Yeah, see you, pal. Yep, that's the traffic warden. Must be the only person who ever actually talks to traffic wardens, unless it's being, oh, what are you giving me a ticket for? Well, you parked in the wrong place, didn't you? Oh yeah, but I was only going to be a minute. Yeah, well, you parked in the wrong place, so you get a ticket. I do a bit of job I'd actually quite enjoy, being a traffic warden. I could be a right dick. Imagine that. Why you give me a ticket? Because you're a prick and you parked in the wrong place. Now fuck off with your car. There's your ticket. Pay it. Don't pay it, I don't care. You're going to get a fucking fine if you don't. Hopefully go to jail. Dick. Don't park in the wrong place again. Anyway, I'm here now. That's my job done. Parking done. Anyway, this has been your man in the shed, Andy P. And from the words of the Joey, think about house.